Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel, and with me tonight, our minion SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
And we will be joined by Sora Luna a little bit later, but she's just a little bit behind schedule. But that's okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that she's physically going to connect us. You said we will be joined, meaning you and I will be joined, presumably, by
Yes.
Sora.
You know the thing.
The thing. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the fact that our commander-in-chief has lowered the bar. So, yeah, whatever. You know what I was talking about, you lying pony dog face.
Lion, pony face, dog soldier,
Yeah.
whatever.
Let's see.
That's
we have
our
a few
president.
people waiting. This is Kyle. Let's see.
Jack's here. Spud's here.
Spud gun. Excellent. All right. So, I have to do my daily self-deprecation, but before I do that, I wanted to find out how your day was, Skep.
Well, it was a day of mowing the lawn and hauling bags of dead tomato plants. That's the thing about tomatoes. At the end of each growing season, you have to pull the plants out of the ground and get ready to replant, for the next year. And in a small farm like ours, small garden like ours, it's a lot of work. So anyway, I'm tired. I'm the pleasantly exhausted, tired phase of old age. I also turned 70 last week.
You did on what was it,
October
Wednesday?
5th. Yeah. Hard to imagine 70 times around the sun.
But, yeah, it's a lot of distance. Makes you feel like you got something done. But you know what? The trouble with that calculation is if you were 70 years old and had been on UBI your entire life, you still would have traveled the same distance. So
that's a good
sound
point.
as good if you think of it that way.
I tried to use my time wisely.
Yeah. Well, I frequently use my time not wisely.
Diswisely.
And to give you an idea of how AI has basically figured things out before I have, let me show you a picture. Okay, so I got this in Amazon, time to reorder.
Right.
And the first thing is like, okay, I've had a hiatal hernia ever since I was a kid. That's fine. I was just born that way. Doesn't really matter. But the second one is, here's a picture of a Bluetooth headset that costs nearly $100. It says, you've already purchased it twice. Do you need another one?
How many ears do you think I have?
No, but the point is, I keep losing the damn things.
Oh, okay.
And sure enough, this thing came up a few days ago saying, is it time for another headset? And I'm like, no, screw you. I still have that headset. Next day I lost it. Can't find it to save my life. Dude. It's like the AI not only knew that I needed a headset, it predicted it a day before I realized I did. That's how screwed I am.
That's a little too close for comfort.
It's a little too close for comfort, but I don't know, if you look at this headset, it's black and a little bit of silver. And if you put it on a table with a bunch of tech stuff, like USB cables and all that sort of nonsense, you won't see it.
It blends in.
Right. It just absolutely blends in. And if you go looking for a headset, other than the ones that go over your ears in stereo and have cat ears and are pink, right, you really can't find a headset that is visible. So I ended up basically buying a $40 headset, a little better than Fong Fong, which I had to get rid of because that thing was terrible. And so I actually have this headset now, and I modified it ever so slightly with some heat shrink tubing so that it's not freaking invisible.
That's just for the contrast. That's the only reason you did that.
Yeah. That's and you funny. See it got a little shiny between the loops. That's because I had to hit it with the heat gun to get that.
I was going to say, you hit it with the heat gun.
I hit it with exactly the heat gun, and now it's like really easy to see.
Yep. Good call.
Excellent. Yeah, mission accomplished.
Over-engineered, perhaps, but accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good.
The dynamite killed the bumblebee.
It was necessary because I'm tired of losing these damn things.
Absolutely. Good call.
okay, yes. So Spud Gun, to give you an idea of how bad it is, this Polycom thing that I lost. Let's go back to that image. This Polycom thing that I lost. I actually couldn't find the one I lost the last time I lost it. I found the one that I lost the time before, and I only realized that when I found out it wouldn't Bluetooth pair to my phone anymore. So I had to forget the one that was already there and then re-add the one. So I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who's run into this problem. Actually, Polycom makes an app for Android and iPhone that is designed to help you not lose your headset. You'd think that you could do something to make the headset actually visible, but no, you have an app for that. So if it's turned on, it will make an annoying noise until you find it.
Oh,
but
interesting.
If it's powered off, what this app does is you're supposed to walk around with geolocation turned on, and it actually keeps track of where you are when you use your headset, so that you can ask it, where was the last place you saw the headset connected? So you can use GPS tracking to figure out what room you were in when you last used your headset. Now, is that a heavyweight solution to a lightweight problem?
That is, that's on the same order as using satellites to keep track of your restaurant reservation.
Yeah,
people don't know what pager technology is. They don't know what happens when the pager goes off. They think, oh, it's some kind of little radio signal, from the maitre d, directly. No, it's not. That thing goes to a satellite.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on the system, but a lot.
It depends on the system, but most of the ones that are in use now in the big commercial chains, like when you go to Outback Steakhouse or something like that, that's what they're using.
They're using the same technology that we used to just on Wild Kingdom. They'd put this huge thing around the elk's neck and say, now we're going to Jim's going to put this around the elk's neck. And I'm going to sit back here and drink martinis in the tent while we track this elk and its migrations. It's going to be great.
Watch out for those antlers, Jim.
Yeah, Marlin.
Tear a man in half.
Marlin Perkins.
Yes.
All right. Well, anyway,
that's his name.
That's silly. So is there anything at all you want to talk about before we start the regularly scheduled show?
Nothing in particular. Had some, reflections on being as old as I am and seeing the things that I'm seeing, but it's all stuff you've heard before. Just an expression of, just what a remarkably changed world this is, and also a feeling that the pace of innovation and change is that rate of increase is increasing itself. The pace of change is getting faster, and the pace of change is getting faster.
That's second derivative, yes.
Yeah, second order derivative, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, I've actually been thinking about really old things more than a little bit, but I want to save this, and hopefully Sora will get here before I bring up this next topic. So let's just make fun of Joe Biden for a moment. Did you see this?
Let me be clear.
Oops.
If you're in a state...
Hold on. I guess you can't see it if I don't swap the thing.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Technical excellence right out of the gate.
Where hurricanes often strike, like Florida or the Gulf Coast or into Texas, a vital part of preparing for hurricane season is to get vaccinated now.
Get his hand.
What?
Jesus Christ.
I didn't know that the COVID-19 vaccination could repel hurricanes. Did you?
It does. It does. Evidently, it has to do with the Coriolis effect.
Is this guy just a broken record or what?
He just reads what Ron Klain approves to be put in front of him. I mean, that really is what's going on here. He's an automaton. There's a utterly cynical staff in back of him who writes out what they want him to say, and then he was reading that. He was reading all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think that he's that aware of what he's saying when he's reading. I think he has trouble thinking about what he's reading as he's reading it. I think maybe once he was able to do that, but I don't think he's able to do that anymore. The other thing I noticed was as he was reading the tremor in his hand. I mean, that's way more than what doctors call an essential tremor.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty clear he's got some incipient Parkinsonism or something that is affecting him neurologically. This is not a well man. This guy. I don't even know if he's going to last 2 more years, much less run again. He's not going to run again. I mean, I don't think he'll run again. And actually, if you want the totally hot take prediction for who the next president is going to be, I have a prediction.
Mm-hmm.
I think our next president, the next president of this country, is going to be elected. It's going to be a Democrat, and it's going to be Hillary Clinton. Dead serious. She is positioning herself to do that, and I think things could fall just perfectly for her this time.
Well, is Donna Brazile still in position to send her the debate questions ahead of time?
She won't even need them. She won't even need them because she'll be going up against Trump, and Trump has gone from a guy who with 60% favorability to a guy with about 35 or 40% favorability, real favorability, maybe 45. And he will not be able to win a general election. He simply will not.
It's far too early to say what's going to happen.
Oh, I agree. This is just for, just fun speculation. That's all.
Yeah. Well,
but that's
if we all stick around, we'll find out, right?
Exactly. Yeah. If I'm alive in 2 years, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, see, so that was a thing. And then also this happened.
Court filing, Angelina Jolie says that her ex-husband Brad Pitt pushed her and physically harmed their children during a flight in 2016. Now this comes as the two battle over Jolie's 2021 sale of her stake at their joint French winery.
Okay, so
that's how many times has this happened to all of us?
Yeah, so I'm battling with my ex. We're both a bunch of rich douchebags. I'm battling with my ex about a thing, and there's kids involved, and it's getting nasty. And I just happen to remember something that happened 6 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know how I could have overlooked that, but it feels really relevant to the discussion about the sale of the stuff in the winery.
Absolutely.
Essentially, they both bought into this French winery, and there was an agreement that they had, an agreement being loosely defined, because I don't know if it was written or verbal or whether they spit on their hands and shook. I don't know what they did.
If it's not written down,
but I don't know what it is. We don't know if it's written down. We don't know what it is. It's an unknown. But she apparently, without his permission, because they were supposed to agree on it, sold her share of it. Okay. And then this story goes on to be, well, this is why the kids haven't been around the winery lately. It's like, you mean the thing you sold your share in? It's like, no, just shut up. This is, after the whole Amber Heard thing, you'd think the whole making stuff up to try to get more money in court or to get an advantageous relationship would be somewhat played out. But I think Angelina thinks she's really, really smart. And she's 1,000 times smarter than Amber Heard. But still, I mean, it's hard not to look at this.
A very small number.
Well, it's hard not to look at this cynically.
Yeah. I think this is nothing but a propitious thing for her to bring up to trash him, to make him look bad. And she's just, fighting to win the public battle. I can't make myself care about these people. I'm sorry they have the problems that they have. I wish them well. I think they're both talented people and all that sort of thing. And I enjoy them when they perform. But that is my only interest in them. I don't understand the public's fascination with the moneyed, the entertainers. And these are some of the poorest educated, poorest thinking, most emotional, wrecks of people who presume to advise us on how to live our lives. I'm sorry, I don't want to end up like Rob Reiner. I'm not going to follow his life advice because I don't want to be like Stephen King. I don't want to be like these people. I don't understand why people put such stock in what they have to say.
Do
Do you find that odd or not?
Well, okay. The question is, because this isn't just about rich douchebags having these debates. These things happen much less publicly with regular folks too.
Yes, they do.
And in my mind, I'm looking at this and I'm almost thinking, and I know this is probably the wrong thing to think, but is no-fault divorce actually a good idea? I mean, on balance,
that's a long conversation.
Hasn't it? Well, I just want your initial impression, because I sometimes look at the situation with all this he said, she said type stuff, and this whole no fault thing, and I almost feel like it would the behavior of the parties that are separating really ought to matter again.
See, here's the thing about no fault divorce essentially took away the lever of hitting your future ex, the person to whom you're married to, with whom you want dissolution, over the head with, behavioral problems, saying, I want to divorce her because she was, unfaithful to me, or I want to divorce him because, he hit me, or there's a reason for it. The thing of it is, the reason no fault divorce came in was because the law, or the people who administered the law, really the family court judges, that they saw that there already was no fault divorce. It's just, a polite fiction was being trotted out in front of the court so these people could dissolve their marriage. And so whether or not you outlaw no fault divorce, people will still dissolve their marriages because that's effectively almost like a de facto right that has been granted people, that's a special kind of contract that can be dissolved by either party at the drop of a hat, regardless of whatever other contractual arrangements exist between husband and wife.
Yeah, I don't want to go full MGTOW on this sort of thing. It's hard when I see, not everybody has the resources of Johnny Depp or Brad Pitt. Not everybody has the resources to do, nor do they have cameras following them around, keeping track of almost everything they do in public, so there's a record of everything that's happened. Right. That narrows the he said, she said zone down to a pretty small slice of life, because these guys are in the public light so much of the time that the only thing you can allege is just, on this one particular night when we weren't out at an opening or something, you're going to say that this thing happened. And then the next day you show up and then people can see what the condition of your face was.
Right.
That there's a lot of that stuff that happens. So normal people don't get that. When a normal person gets hit with one of these 6 years ago, I think you did something because I'm in a tough negotiation and I need leverage. There's not a whole lot you can do. Not everybody is Brett Kavanaugh, who wrote down all of the parties he went to in his Trapper Keeper and who attended them with him. Man, I'm telling you, young men, documentation is your friend.
Yep.
There used to be jokes from some black comedians talking about dealing with the police, and they'd say, it's rough. Every time I go somewhere, I ask for a receipt. I buy a Coke at the corner store. It's like, I need a receipt for that. And so you would just carry around all these receipts so you could basically prove where you'd been at any given moment.
I would actually carry around like 3 sets of receipts. Like I would have the Texas receipts that would prove that I'm in Texas. And then I'd have other people in other cities collecting receipts for me and then mailing them to me. So in the future, I could, if necessary, prove that I was some another city that day.
Oh, good. Yeah.
It's just pre-planning a crime, just in case. It's like criminal insurance.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Just thinking ahead.
Yeah, it's good to think ahead. Some of these, I can't remember which serial killer it was. There was this one guy that they were going after recently, and I was hearing about his story. Sorry, I can't remember the name of him, but he actually had caches of like money and weapons and like nose and glasses and disguises. All the tools he needed to commit his crimes basically stashed in different places around the country. And when he wanted to go after somebody, he would basically go there and then collect those items that he'd previously dropped them off. So he just run around the country just dropping off caches of stuff he needed to commit murder and then not murder anybody. Years would go by and then he'd come back and he'd have that stuff there. And so you couldn't trace him to, oh, it says here you bought bear spray and zip ties at the store a mile
Israel
from the person's
Keys.
house.
Israel Keys admitted to burying money and weapons throughout the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
Israel Keys kill kits. Listening to the detectives describe the serial killers. Oh, wow. This is quite a story.
It is quite a story.
Yeah, it said while in jail awaiting trial for the 2012 murder of 18-year-old Samantha Koenig, serial killer Israel Keys took part in 48 hours worth of interviews with the FBI detailing his gruesome murders, along with disclosing information about his 10 other known victims. Keys also told investigators that he would often stash, quote, murder kits, end quote, near future crime scenes. Mm-hmm. These kits included weapons and supplies to dispose of his victims' bodies, including duct tape, shovels, guns, rope, Drano, and lye. Wow. And unlike most serial killers, Keys traveled thousands of miles to stalk his victims and learn their habits before killing them. He told authorities he would leave his home in Anchorage, Alaska, under the guise of visiting distant friends and family members, and no one suspected he was going on multi-state killing sprees. At the time of his arrest, Keys said he had multiple caches buried across the country.
As one does.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that guy.
Well, here's something that I think qualifies as good news. St. Louis man convicted in former police captain David Dorn's murder is sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Yay.
You remember this?
Yes, I do. Man, I am pissed off about, that the country forgot about Dorn's murder. What about that black life? Does it matter too?
Well, he was a 77-year-old retired police captain, and he was trying to get between some looters and some bread that they were going after.
Yep.
That just happened to be next to big screen TVs. And this thug killed the man in cold blood.
Yeah, absolutely did. I saw the tape.
I'm kind of surprised that they found the guy, and I'm even more surprised that a St. Louis jury actually convicted him. Because you know how useless the DA is in St. Louis. This is the same one where they went after the lawyers when the mob approached their house and wanted to burn it down.
Yes, exactly. I would like to know what evidence they had on this guy, and if this was just round up the usual suspects and pick one of them kind of a thing, or if this was a legitimate conviction.
I think for it to make its way through a jury in St. Louis, they probably needed pretty compelling evidence.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that DA would have just railroaded a young black man just for the sake of doing it.
Unless he had a particular grudge against a particular black man, as sometimes happens with district attorneys. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
There are some of these district attorneys, these habitual reoffenders who beat the system once or twice. These district attorneys have a major hard-on for these guys.
There's a bunch of law stuff that shows up on YouTube, and I don't mean like Ricada Law and Law and Crime and that sort of stuff. Yeah. There's a bunch of these channels that cover First Amendment auditors. So these folks that just go around and are generally annoying to cops to make sure that they do their job correctly. No issue with that, right? Everybody needs a hobby. You want to go make sure cops follow the First and Fourth Amendment, more power to you. That's fine. Most of those people seem pretty reasonable. And you watch these things that happen, but there's other channels which are really a little less even-handed that I've seen recently, where it's really very much kind of all cops are bad. And they come up with some pretty terrible cases where they took this one guy and he just was going for a walk with his new wife in front of his old wife's house, and she called the police. They never checked to see if he, heard the video to see if he went on her property. This police guy shows up and they throw this guy in jail for like 6 months and never even gets a hearing. It's those kinds of cases where you think, well, maybe no cash bail does have some merit. You know that with the whole Black Lives Matter thing, if they had thought about the common cause that they would have had with a lot of other groups, like people who care about the Bill of Rights, there is a common overlap in terms of things that could have actually gotten done if they had just wanted to get something done instead of make themselves rich. Exactly. And start this big cause celeb. It's not hard to find video of cops who are planting drugs in people's cars at traffic stops. These are things that happen. They are documented things that happen. And I don't want people just being let loose for no particular good reason, but I also don't want somebody being stuck in jail for 6 months because we have this not particularly speedy trial system. And the first thing that happens is, if this is some regular guy, he's just going to lose his job. So I'm a little more sympathetic to the idea of not letting people just sort of rot in jail. But I think the real issue is the kinds of people that they let out. If there's a pretty good reason to believe that somebody murdered somebody, or at least manslaughtered them with extreme prejudice, just letting that person out without like an ankle monitor and house arrest or something like that is crazy. But some of these things where there's no violent crime at all involved at all, I would like to see those people not rot for 6 months in prison. And maybe we could actually fix the public defender system a little bit too, because I feel like it's one of those things that's vastly underfunded. Well, we're blowing money on all this other crap.
There's several moving parts here. For one of the things that we need to do is stop filling our prisons with crazy people. We need to keep crazy people in the loony bins. We need to fire up the loony bins again, I'm afraid. The other thing, that would take some of the pressure off the prisons. Prisons need to be, improved. But I also agree, we do need some reform in sentencing. In fact, probably a lot of criminal law really needs to be looked at realistically for sentencing guidelines. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I go through looking at that stuff.
Well, I still think that my idea about just removing people from populations, separating them off, rather than putting them in a place where they have to form new social ties with bad people in order to survive, would make a lot more sense. I think as a more minimum security type of thing, just sort of sending people off and having them be alone for a while so they can think about what they did and then work on some of those problems before they end up in anything resembling Gen Pop might make a lot more sense. I don't think that a prison is a place where where like a young thug is going to learn to heal. I think he's just going to make new, worse friends. And then he's going to get out and the cycle's going to continue. I don't think that prison fixes a lot of problems that we have.
Yeah.
And there are some people that just can't be around other people. They're just broken humans and they should just not be around other people.
What's wrong with North Sentinel Island? Send them over there.
Or just, allocate several thousand acres in the middle of the Nevada desert. We'll give you an aluminum roof. It'll be painted white. You'll be fine.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, I mean, as soon as they try to run or something like that, you've got enough space, it'll be pretty obvious that they're trying to do that. And then you lost that opportunity. Now you get to go to the place with the soap on a rope.
Or just if they start running, just have drones and use it for target practice.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, we don't turn bad people. There are people who need to be removed from society, either temporarily or permanently, right? And we need to come up with better ways to save the ones that can be saved.
Yes.
We also need a system that makes it easier to get rid of bad cops, because they do exist, and they really do make it a lot harder for the good cops to do their job.
That's absolutely right too.
So
but there's one other thing about, we also we need to know who to throw away. When you look at some guy who is, he's got the face tats going on, and he's in for his third, consecutive murder, and he's serving 5 consecutive life terms without parole. There's no reason for that person to continue to have a life, in my opinion. He has used up his chances many times over. I actually think you use up your chances about the time you come in for your 3rd felony.
Sometimes they do get it wrong. I don't know if you've heard about some of what's going on.
That is cost society pays.
The Keith Raniere trial, right? A lot of what they're going at, the NXIVM cult. Well, a lot of, according to, I've only heard what Scott Adams said about it. So, the microdosing mushroom guy, let me just preface it that way. I'm not an expert on this, but if it's true that a lot of what they went after him for was that he had a picture of some underage person on his computer, and a number of experts are casting serious doubt as to the authenticity of this, claiming that it may have been planted by the FBI. 5 years ago, if you had said something had been planted by the FBI in a case to bring somebody down, I would have laughed. I would have said, that seems very unlikely.
Yeah.
How can you have a conspiracy big enough in the FBI that somebody wouldn't squeal?
Now you're kind of like, that occurred to me.
I've seen too many cases of them lying on warrants, and just too much stuff. It's like, I know there's a lot of good people that work for the FBI, but I think that if there's one image on a computer and you don't have like a chain of custody that's ironclad, if somebody claims that experts show that this has been manipulated and there's reasonable doubt, I'd say the government hasn't made their case. Now, maybe he is guilty. I don't know. But the government still has to make their case. Because honestly, if they can railroad guys like that, we're done. People like you and me are done.
Absolutely.
So it's my self-interest that I care about. I mean, I don't particularly care about Keith Raniere as a person. I have no relationship to him. I don't care. He's nobody to me. Yeah. But he represents a much bigger threat to the rest of us.
But we have got to impose negative sanctions on the kind of behavior that we've come to say is acceptable. When we have leaders in Congress effectively hectoring crowds to go out and riot, Maxine Waters, case in point, Gavin Newsom is another one, any number of Seattle politicians who are doing nothing more than riot mongering. Man, I have no time for that. None at all.
Well, switching gears slightly, because again, this is one of these things where if we talk any longer, we're going to talk for the rest of the show.
Yep. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. So Jordan Peterson went on TV and the waterworks started up. He got emotional about the Olivia Wilde situation. And we've seen him get emotional about stuff before.
Yep.
And as somebody who can get a little emotional about stuff occasionally too, I mean, I do agree that, crying is only for funerals and the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
That's the ideal, but every now and then, everybody's got a button that you can push and it hurts. It's like everybody's got their little soft spot somewhere.
Or they get moved by something and, just brings tears to your eyes.
Well, I'm willing to give him a pass, right?
Yeah.
I want to give him a pass on this, and I hadn't really paid much attention, and then I ran across this in Discord, and I've blurred out some stuff here. Jordan B. Peterson now spends his time traveling the world, crying at people and proving he doesn't understand what a conservative is. So essentially, what you've got is this pincer movement against Jordan Peterson that seems to be coming from both the right and the left. There are an awful lot of people who want to tear this man down. I mean, my personal opinion is that in a sane world, we wouldn't necessarily need a guy like Jordan Peterson. I don't think most of what he says is particularly deep.
No,
I don't think that he's like
it's
a
mostly
huge thought
obvious,
leader.
don't you
It's
think?
all really obvious stuff. Even his
Yeah.
stuff about religion and you know, a lot of his theories and stuff, his systems that he develops, I don't think are particularly complicated. But he's just sort of the right guy in the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to
well, and
tear
he's
the
got
guy
a lot
down.
of he's got a lot of very influential but intellectually somewhat dim people very impressed with him, and they're saying nice things about him. So the public is encouraged to believe he's a genius. I don't believe he's a genius. He's nothing more than a rational, thoughtful, kind of a nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, and his verbal skills are actually quite good. He's
Yeah,
very good
he's
at
very
communicating
thoughtful.
his ideas.
Very
And
thoughtful.
he's certainly bright enough, but I don't understand why people on the right, I mean, because the person who wrote this is on the right. We all know people like this on the right on Discord.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think
And
we
so
do,
what
as
is
a
it
matter of
about
fact.
conservatives wanting to tear him down? What, because he cried once or twice? He's not far enough right to you? He's not quoting Moldbug? He's not a minarchist? What is it? What is the litmus test now? Because
Well, that's what I was
he's
going to say.
he's a perfectly useful person for most people on the right. He's out there saying difficult things in situations that you'll never be in.
But
Nobody's going to give
person-
you the platform that Jordan Peterson has, and he's doing good work. Go.
But this person has an objection.
Yes.
This person has tested Jordan Peterson's metal and found it lacking. There's something Jordan Peterson has said that this person disagrees with, and so now this person is going to, spend his days auditing Jordan Peterson, and if he finds him crying, they'll say, "Oh, he travels the world crying at people, proving he doesn't understand what a conservative is," and then offer absolutely nothing in back of that. You'll never see anything in back of that explaining what the particulars are. It's hit and run bullshit, social media porn. It's crap.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Jack's saying people on the right idolize him because conservatives are so fucking starved for role models. Well, some do, others don't. Again, you run into sort of like minarchist type people. There are a lot of people on the far right that think democracy isn't going to work. They don't think it can work. I'm a radical centrist, so I kind of think democracy is fixable. I think it's the worst system we have except for all the others. I don't want to count on the goodwill of the one guy we put in charge for the reason of efficiency.
No.
Because over the short term, it may work out really, really well.
Yeah. It's not working out now. I'm just reading through chat. Let's see, but the fact
please
that it's
do.
revolutionary shows it is not obvious anymore. Yeah, I'm not sure that it's as revolutionary as everybody thinks. I think it is a dash of cold water in the face of some of the people on the left. Basically, what he says is what used to be referred to as common sense, just good old fashioned horse sense, in my opinion. I don't think Peterson is really much more than that. Do you?
No, not really. Also, I'm actually very careful about labels. Assassin's talking about a right-wing extremist is with the founding fathers. Yeah, in a lot of ways, I'm sure that's true. I mean, in most ways, I'm with the founding fathers. In most ways, I don't like labels for a lot of stuff. I mean, I really find that if I'm dealing with an individual, I'd much rather just say, well, here's 5 things I care about. How do you feel about these things?
But when you say
rather than brand loyalty, because I think that people like to label themselves as particular things, and then they frequently will sort of self-censor and try to be true to the brand that they've decided they're going to adopt. And I really do believe that most people agree about like 80% of stuff.
Oh, I would say that you're right, and it might even be more than 80%. Yeah, the Overton window is moving around, zigging and zagging like a drunk bumblebee right now. In my opinion, I think I think generally what's going to happen with the Overton window is it's going to become a picture window. It's going to extend much farther to the left and much farther to the right than it ever has.
You know, I really haven't shifted all that much. People always talk about their political journey.
Yeah.
I grew up in a political household. I was political all my life. I've always been sort of socially somewhat liberal, in all other ways, pretty conservative. And it just kind of averages out, putting me sort of in the center now. You don't know, like you don't know pure joy until you're at university and you're standing in line and you hear somebody complaining about an article you've written in one of the conservative school newspapers. I'm like sitting here waiting to get something from this coffee shop, and it's like, oh, this is okay. I don't mind waiting if I can hear them talk about how much they hate me. This is great. I really enjoy this. So I've actually been, I don't have a journey. I'm actually I'm like a pulsar. I mean, I really just don't change frequency. I mean, I've nudged a little one way or the other, but I mean, I guess I shouldn't really complain about other people's brand loyalty since I seem to be so constant.
Yeah. There's way too much of this kind of obfuscation that happens in our discourse, where I was thinking about that guy who had, this guy has this little problem with Jordan Peterson, and he comes up with a non sequitur and proving he doesn't understand what a conservative is. Huh?
So have you heard about this thing that Joel McLaughlin just brought up? I saw V did a little piece on it, that PayPal is thinking about adding something to their terms of service where if you're guilty of spreading misinformation, they can just sort of take $2,500 from you. And I'm thinking to myself, this has to be an oversimplification.
Yes, that must be. No person would ever use PayPal again. That would be done.
Well, what have you got to hide, Skep? Are you a bigot?
Yeah.
Are you afraid to use PayPal?
I just closed my PayPal account. I had it open for a long time, and I decided it was more trouble than it was worth.
I think this is a case of just running something up the flagpole and seeing if anybody salutes.
Yeah, maybe.
Hopefully, I mean, because it doesn't cost them anything to say, oh yeah, this is a thing we're thinking of, and then ultimately not do it.
Right.
Unless the sleeping giants and the other progressives get so excited, they get themselves in such a lather over it that they just insist that they try to do it anyway. And I agree with you. I think it might be the end of PayPal if that's what happens.
Yeah, that would be crazy. It's certain. If they do it, it won't last for long. I guarantee you, the hue and cry will be tremendous. And if they ever enforce it one time, they're going to make the person they enforce it against famous.
So Assassin's saying they dropped that. Okay, so yeah, ran it up the flagpole, see if they salute. Nobody saluted. Yep. That's
nobody
good.
Saluted.
Does nobody look in Minions news? Well, I don't. I don't know about anybody else. I look in so many sources of news. I really do.
I know someone who used to, but I haven't looked there.
I actually take notes for the show all week, and then other people like Geodes and a bunch of other people send me stuff. And then I have to put it all together and come up with a plan for the show.
Sometimes I post to your server.
Yeah. I just like stealing Assassin's memes and then using them without attribution. That's the main thing. Yeah, of course.
It's one of your favorite things.
So I have a little story here. It's kind of like a feel good, feel bad story. Here we go.
Right now at 4, a North Carolina family wants answers after their loved one was fired from a job he's been doing for more than 20 years. We're talking about Dennis Peak. He has Down syndrome and was planning to retire soon from a Wendy's restaurant in Gaston County. But his family said a store manager fired him because, quote, he wasn't able to do his job like a normal person. His family is now advocating for him after they found out he was fired without receiving notice.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yes. Now the parent
My
company
God.
has realized that the optics here are less than ideal.
Less than ideal. A video about boiling kittens would look better than this.
I know. This is like when people used to joke about Hillary Clinton drinking the blood of newborn children, to stay young.
But this is real. Are you kidding me?
I wish I was.
And the supervisor just noticed that this guy was differently abled. Oh my God.
Well, here's a guy
through make him so rich.
Through no well, that's actually not going to help him. Through no fault of his own, this guy's born in a way that's just basically broken.
Yep.
And as I've said in the past, I have no issue with sitting there and waiting with a smile on my face for Corky to bag my groceries. I'm happy that he has a way to feel like he's contributing, right? It's not a big deal. Nobody's forcing me to do it. I'm willing to do it. I'm not like the nicest person on the planet by far, but I can do that. I can be polite while Corky puts my eggs underneath a 5-pound bag of flour. I can deal with that.
Yep.
But this guy has managed to work for 22 years at Wendy's. Probably done a pretty decent job, I'm guessing. And even if he hasn't, they're getting compensated by the government. So it's not like they're out of pocket for a whole bunch of money. But some manager comes in
and 22 years is under this same manager.
I don't know if it's under the same manager, but this guy comes in.
It's not. I'll just guarantee you.
Yeah, and then basically tries to dress down some guy with 22 years of experience who's got Down syndrome.
Oh,
fuck you.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. The company has said that they will happily give the guy his job back.
Oh God!
The family's been agonizing trying to figure out how to explain to the guy that he's been fired. It's that kind of situation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man. This is.
I've done a lot of shitty things in my life, but I've never tormented a guy with Down syndrome before and taken away his job.
At least not yet.
Yeah, I know.
You haven't done that yet.
The night is young. Anyway, I just figured you'd be as appalled by that as I was.
Jeez. Good Lord. Could stop me right in my tracks.
On the off chance that Sora does make it, there's a few things I just don't want to talk about.
Sora, come save us. Save us from ourselves.
Let's see. We can't talk about quiet quitting. I want to save this other thing here. Is she going to make it? I don't know. She may just be tied up. Could be a problem. Okay. No, we can't do the thing about animals either, because she's going to love that thing. Okay, let's talk about this, filed under why we can't have nice things.
The group claiming responsibility for the cyber attack had sent Monday for the ransom deadline, a deadline they did not wait for before apparently releasing sensitive information. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter is live with the latest developments
Los
tonight.
Angeles
Leanne?
Union School District.
Jory, a lot of anger and frustration online from LAUSD parents and employees as they learned that information taken during that ransomware attack has now been released on the web.
The LAUSD announcing on social media that hackers have started to release information taken during their cyber attack over the Labor Day weekend. Superintendent Alberto Cavallo isn't saying what information.
I love this, this like story blocks B-roll that they use for these sort of stories.
Yeah, hackers release some data.
Yeah, so essentially the incompetent school people that I told you about last week they're trying to motivate them by like squeezing out little bits of the information that they've taken. Oh, there's Sora. Here's Sora. Howdy. Oh, she's muted.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Canadian internet just failed.
Yeah.
She'll be back in a moment.
Yep.
Yeah, so they've started doing this sort of thing. And I was thinking about hackers in general, and I sort of went on a bit of a mental wander thinking about these hackers.
Mm-hmm.
They really are a lot like the pirates that we used to have. Like, remember they used to have these pirates back in ancient Rome that originally they would do nice things like get slaves and then bring them to the slave markets, and the Romans would say, "Thank you for bringing us all these slaves, fine pirates." And then the pirates decided one day that they were just going to be dicks and instead go and raid the slave market and steal as much stuff as they could. And so the Romans responded by saying, this whole thing where we don't have centralized authority, that was great, but the pirates are really pissing us off. So let's give Pompey a whole bunch of authority and let him just go into the Mediterranean and wipe these guys out.
To do.
Yeah, he's a general. He'll know what to do. So Pompey just went in and just wiped out all the pirates in a few days.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is pretty impressive for several hundred BC.
Essentially what it was he went over and said,
"Hi, Sora."
Hello.
Kill all of them, and they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, then he decided that since he had some momentum going, that he would just head east and just start taking over shit. And so he just grabbed a bunch of territory in the eastern Mediterranean and then brought back slaves and riches and paraded them through the streets of Rome, as one does.
Absolutely.
Now,
was he the one who paraded Vercingetorix through downtown Rome, and then at the height of the festivities had his family strangled in front of him, and then had him strangled publicly?
I don't know.
He was the last Gallic warlord who resisted it. I can't remember if that was.
Well, this wasn't Gaul. That would have been. Oh,
Julius Caesar. That was later. That was Julius Caesar.
Well, this was also not. That was also the other direction. so.
You're talking about Pompey's.
Talking about Pompey. Okay, but the point is that we're going to be pissed off, right? We've got our modern day cyber pirates running around.
Yeah.
And every time we have a problem like this, people are always happy to like, hey, why don't we consolidate authority in that guy?
Yeah.
And just give that guy extraordinary powers to go out and do something because pirates are annoying. Let's just do this. And we definitely know that unlike Pompey, he won't just take that power and then go do a bunch of other stuff because he can. Because to my mind, history is a thing you should really be aware of. And I don't want to see that get repeated.
No.
I don't want us to just give some czar, some anti-piracy czar, a bunch of extra authority to do stuff, because I actually like having rights.
No, I couldn't agree more with you. And if you abdicate the responsibility for hammering out what those rights and responsibilities are, nature abhors a vacuum, and that's true in the rights and responsibilities game. Something else will, pick up those rights and reduce your freedom as a result. It's just the quick libertarian take on it. Not sure that made any sense, but it did to me, sort of.
Yeah, well, there's certainly things you can do with multi-level security that would make this thing, if we had a time machine, we could go back and fix the LA Union School District's security policy. But I don't want to screw up the world just because these guys didn't know how to lock down their servers. And I worry that something like this is going to cause an extreme response because all these school kids got their permanent records leaked.
What would you consider an extreme response?
Well, what I would consider an extreme response is, like I said, a massive consolidation of power and granting special privileges needed to kill the hackers.
In a general sense.
And I mean in the metaphorical sense, not like send a radiation-seeking missile toward the hackers. That would be wrong. Minions of the Zoo does not endorse missile striking the hackers. Maybe Sora does. How are you doing, Sora?
Oh, good.
Did you have a good day?
It ended better than it started.
One of those.
It's a migraine day.
I'm sorry.
It happens, but it's much better now.
Well, while I was driving home so that I could put the show together, some people broke into my car trying to steal it and ended up screwing up something associated with the wiring for the horn. So now I have a special horn that when I press it,
oh no,
it doesn't stop horning. It just horns until I turn the car off. So I'm driving down the freeway doing 70 miles an hour, and the horn is just, and I had to use it because I was in a turn and a semi started coming over the line at me and I had nowhere to go. So I had to use the horn, but so I'm driving along for like a few miles and beep, and it's like, God damn it. So I pull off on an off ramp and turn the car off, turn it back on. And I've got Google navigation in my ear with my new headset, which is, let's see, where's the headset? It's right there. There's my new headset. See, I put yellow stripey things on it so I won't lose it this time. But anyway.
Racing stripes.
So I'm driving along and suddenly I've got this huge monster truck because I'm basically in the ghetto at this point, where I'm at. And I have to keep moving, and I end up turning the wrong way on this road. Skep, we're not going to name the road, but I end up turning the wrong way on this road. I have to drive all the way to a different town than the one I'm heading to, and then have to go all the way back to home because I ended up making a right turn on this thing. I ended up making like about a 12-mile detour, all because I had to pull over and make my horn stop horning. That's been my day. Luckily, I don't have a headache. Yeah, that's horrible.
I'm surprised you don't have a headache. I think that would have 100% given me a headache.
So we have...
how's your car besides the busted horn?
Oh, it's fine. Everything else works, just not the horn. So since you don't feel well, let me show you some... let me just go ahead to the block of things which I have just called animals. Okay? Let's have some animals for Sora. Okay.
All right, we're at school. They said there was a coyote in a bathroom. So, oh, that's not a pup. That's a full-grown coyote. Oh boy, let's get you.
Poor thing.
Poor baby.
If I hide here, maybe you
think,
can't see me.
Why is this kid in a middle school? This coyote in a middle school bathroom. Well, because it's California and there's a drought and there's no freaking water.
Yeah.
Drinking out of the toilet seems like a pretty good option for this coyote right now, because his life sucks.
Yeah.
But he goes to get this poor thing out of there. I mean, it's just cowering in the corner. He doesn't want to be there. This coyote's not a threat to anybody.
Hey, guy. Let's get you out of here. I found a spot to let them go.
Yeah, look at how dry all
it is. It's becoming more and more difficult to relocate them with all the development of new homes. So let's set this down so I can let them out. I'm go for my coyote.
Look, door's open. The coyote's not moving.
He doesn't want to go.
Come on, idiot.
Take a letter, man.
Oh, poor baby.
I mean, I when it rains even a little bit, and I know it's not going to solve the drought. I know that it's not just about me and the drought, because it's really hard on all the plants and animals and stuff. When California decides to turn that bad shade of brown. I hate drought. I really hate drought.
In 1978, that was a terrible drought year. That was when the PSAs came out about, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. Yeah.
And people had these toilets that, would like have about a 4-gallon flush. So you'd put bricks in the back of your toilet to try to make it
They put
better.
bricks in the toilet. They did.
Yeah, I remember that. It sucked.
Oh man.
So here's another video, Sora. This will help with your headache, I promise.
Oh, smart crow.
I like crows.
I do too.
Look at that.
Look at him. Oh.
You want square? I got square. Triangle? I got triangle.
I think the crows shall inherit the earth. I don't know.
And there's a human.
I know.
Yeah.
Moron. Just shove it in there. It'll fit. Don't change. Don't rotate it. Just shove it in.
We are sure that the most evolved living species on the planet. We are sure that we are the most evolved living species on the planet. Let's all talk about it. Let's look at it. Maybe it'll change if we talk about it more.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Rotate it. Oh, how does that work?
Rotate it so it actually fits
and everybody had a free show on that plane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crows are awesome. I like crows. I mean, as long as they're not coming after my garden. Crows and ravens are actually pretty amazing birds.
Oh yeah, what they can learn.
They're really good at solving puzzles and counting. compared to a lot of other animals.
Even using tools.
Yeah.
Right, they're lovely.
Yeah, I find them to be generally pretty okay. Again, if I had a cornfield, I might have a different opinion.
Sure.
But
I've my favorite interaction is I was eating a salmon burger from like a cart thing, and I was sitting down, and suddenly there was like a few crows looking at me, and I looked at them, they looked at me, and I told them, okay, I have to eat at least half of my salmon burger. This is expensive, but I'll give you the rest. Just give me a moment. And they just sat there and waited, and then I gave them half my burger, and they very politely took it and ran away.
I'd rather deal with crows than those stupid monkeys. You know, I don't want any stupid little monkeys pawing at me and trying to steal my camera and all this other nonsense.
No, crows, they're polite, they're clean. At least there are crows here, and you know.
Monkeys are weird. I'm not a fan. I don't think they're cute. I don't think they're funny. I don't want to hang out with chimps or rhesus monkeys or Ubuntus, or just name a primate. I barely can deal with people. I don't want to hang out with worse versions of people. Hairier, smellier, poo-flinging versions of people that are even harder to talk to. I don't want any part of that. But crows are cool. I'm fine with crows. And ravens. Ravens are actually pretty, they're pretty interesting birds. They will go for the high ground. So if you look at a tree and go, man, that's a really big looking crow at the top of that very tall tree. It's because it's not a crow, it's a raven.
Yeah. Ravens are cool until they've done too much ecstasy.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. They just look ridiculous with that pacifier in their mouth.
It's a rave joke. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is very, very sweet. So it has a cow. It has a cow for Sora, and it has a guitar for Skep. So this has something for everybody here.
Oh boy.
Oh.
I'm trying to see if that's a Taylor guitar.
See, I told you, I knew what everybody would want.
It looks like a Taylor. Trying to see
that
the headstock.
Cow is blissed out.
Come on, give me the top
what
of the headstock.
What a lovely cow. Look at that. Oh.
That's a well-made, expensive guitar.
Perfect for cows. 1 out of 1 cows approves of that guitar.
That's interesting.
See,
I love that.
I've seen
look the cow.
So many cute videos of people like snuggling with cows and stuff. I'm like, I want to take a nap with a cow. They look like fun people to take a nap with, you know?
Yeah, when they're babies, they skip.
Oh, I know. They're cute.
Why do they have to be so delicious? Why?
I can like them for both reasons, you know?
Yeah. So I figure I'm going to compromise. You can have a really good life. We'll pay some young woman to play guitar for you. Everything's going to be fine. And then there's going to be a sharp turn in the abattoir where it all goes horribly wrong.
Do you think this is like 5 minutes before it got sacrificed on an altar to be made into ribs?
Nurse Hotbox. I love this comment. 10 points. 10 points to Gryffindor.
Well said.
Damn.
That's a tough crowd.
Anyway, so that's some pointless animal stuff there.
No, that's
I
sweet.
just love the look on the cow's face, complete contentment.
Okay, so here's a thing, and because we're talking about Rome and Pompey and all that sort of stuff, and this actually relates to something that I've been doing, and I don't want to sound like I'm being evangelical about this at all. This is a thing that I do, and I'm not saying anybody else should do it. This isn't just a disclaimer. It's just that I'm weird and certain things work for me. I'm not trying to be preachy here, but the ancient Romans generally believed that eating more than 1 meal a day was just sort of decadent and pointless. And I actually kind of see the value in what they call the 1 meal a day thing. I've been doing it for a few months. And much like the ancient Romans, I actually find that it works out pretty well. So back in Roman times, the only people who would eat like a breakfast were really old people or really sick people or really old sick people. normal folks would eat one big meal a day, kind of like a late lunch sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. This
And
idea that you need 3 meals a day to be healthy is actually relatively modern for humans. I mean, it
comes from the General Mills Company, if you want to know where that comes from.
Well, the cereal stuff comes from, but it actually was being pushed before that. So it says here, in Europe's Middle Ages, breakfast was so rarely taken that even monarchs, whose moves were carefully recorded, don't appear to have eaten what we now regard as the first meal of the day. Instead, medieval people typically had a main meal around 10:30 or 11 in the morning, and a second meal about 5 hours later. So they'd moved up to 2 meals. But you go back to Roman times, 1 meal. 1 meal, maybe if you're a soldier and you're, humping around with a bunch of stuff on your back, you might have like a little bit of bread or something early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it.
My wife and I have eaten 1 meal a day for years.
Okay, so it's
it
not
tends
just
to be like an early supper. No, it's very natural for us. And at the most, every once in a while, like mid-morning, I'll have an apple or something like that. But I don't eat a meal.
Well, I was reading about the health benefits of time-restricted feeding, basically giving your body a chance to do all the things that it can't do when it's busy trying to digest sugar.
Right.
And so I was on an 8-hour thing, so I'd start eating at noon and I'd stop eating at 8. And I thought, well, I'm going to give this more extreme version of it a chance. And I've actually really loved it. And I'm not doing it as a weight thing necessarily. I was doing it
because, for an energy thing.
Yeah, you actually are much more alert most of the time. Every now and then I do kind of feel like I'm just going to collapse and I have to take a little nap before dinner. But most of the time, I just drink a bunch of caffeine and I just soldier through. The hard part was convincing myself that feeling hungry wasn't like you need to go do something about this because the world's coming to an end type of thing. Because you're sort of conditioned to it, like hungry. Oh no, hungry, you should do something about that. It's like, no, hunger won't kill you because you know that you're going to have something to eat at 6. And so I have like a great meal. I mean, I always make sure that dinner's something that I can look forward to and that I enjoy it. So I'll have a big salad with a lot of vegetables and stuff, something fairly plain. And then I'll eat whatever the hell I want for dinner. And I mean that. Like steak, potato, French fries, I don't care. 2 hamburgers, whatever. Pizza, I don't care. I eat whatever I want for dinner, and that's that. And I have all the healthy stuff in the salad. And then I have some kind of sweet thing at the end, whether it's a soda or a dessert or 2 apples or cheesecake. It could be whatever it is. And I feel great. And it's fantastic because I don't have to spend a lot of time shopping. I shop because I know what my meals are going to be. And if I want to control my weight, I can adjust the calories up and down really easily because there's no stuff happening in between meals that's hard to keep track of.
Well, let me tell you something else you're really doing good for your body. You're not munching on food throughout the day and keeping your parasympathetic nervous system partially engaged, because when that's happening, when you're doing that, you basically unhook. It's not really unhooking, but the emphasis goes away from a lot of important stuff that is going on in your body that needs neurological attention. And when that stuff goes wanting, sometimes bad things can happen. I mean, it really can make you feel run down. You can get sick. Opportunistic infections, parasites, and even carcinogens can are constantly putting pressure on your natural defenses, and those natural defenses need attention from your neurological system to basically, it's really oversimplifying it, but basically need the nerves to be taking care of them. If the nerves are constantly, as you said, digesting sugar, basically reacting to saccharidal invasion and breaking down fuel, since that's higher on the priority than making all this other stuff that keeps you healthy, that's I think that's a bad thing. I think that's a potentially very fruitful area of research. I really do.
I don't think I'm eating far fewer calories than I have been, but just for giggles, I like to monitor. I know this is going to come as a huge surprise. I have like one of those physician's assistant things where I can measure my own triglycerides and
I'm
everything.
shocked.
Yeah, I know that I would have a lab on a chip that I use for this stuff. And I also usually measure my A1C level as well. And
Is
then,
it not Solyndra? What was the other big Silicon Valley fraud?
Yeah. Where my nemesis worked.
Yes, exactly.
Theranos.
Theranos, thank you.
Yeah, so, but my A1C over the course of about 3 months dropped by almost 2%.
Really?
And I haven't changed anything except just just when I eat. I mean, I eat like a huge meal, and I feel like a king, because it's like, my daily feast has arrived. And it's fantastic. I really love this diet. So how terrible does this sound to you, Sora?
No, not terrible. I mean, if you want to maintain it, because there's some days that I do this by accident. I hated eating breakfast since before high school, really, because I never felt hungry until 9, 10 o'clock. And that point is like, well, there's no point in eating now. Lunch is in a couple hours. And now at work, my biggest meal sometimes is just lunch, because then I'm too tired to cook anything besides like snacking when I get home anyway.
Yeah, the only thing I do that breaks my fast at all is a little bit of milk in my tea.
I don't know, like
not negotiable, by the way.
Yeah.
There's certain lines that there's certain things I'm not going to give up on.
I put milk in my coffee too, and I do caffeinate in the morning. So.
If my doctor told me that I couldn't have milk anymore, it's like, well, am I going to literally burst into flames, or what do you mean by that? Because I'm putting milk in my tea.
Yeah, and if I am going to burst into flames, what kind of fire extinguisher should I get?
Yeah, exactly. But
Depends
so you've already tried something like this, accidentally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think to actually properly doing this, and Jack mentioned intermittent fasting in the chat.
Yeah, this is a more extreme type of intermittent fasting. It's sometimes called the warrior diet.
I would say intermittent fasting would be the most I would go, just because I think it takes a little bit too much to get into the routine, versus intermittent fasting is a lot easier, because when you're like, okay, I'm going to stop eating at this time, and then you go to bed. You have a couple hours before bed, and then you go to bed, and it's easier to actually achieve that, versus this seems a bit more like involved to get used to not eating more than one meal. And I think it's also, if you are someone who's more conscientious of prepping meals, like yourself, like you were mentioning, that would make it easier. I think I'm not. I've tried. I'm just not consistent enough to really do that. But I don't know. It seems less destructive than a lot of other diets, so why not? At least you're eating. This allows you to eat whatever you want. It's just how many times a day you're eating.
Yeah. Well, I told you about 6th grade camp, right? And how I'm not going to let these people tell me what to do anymore. I've learned my lesson. And so I went looking for reasons not to do this diet. And I found a bunch of them. They're saying, oh, it's going to cause your blood pressure to increase. It hasn't. It's going to cause all these other blood sugar to increase. It hasn't. I already told you the A1C is dropping. Yeah. I mean, I'm so not diabetic right now. It's not even funny. Everything is actually working fantastic. So I think big breakfast can suck it, because I think I think for little kids and old sick people, maybe.
For me, the proper big breakfasts are vacation time. Because to be honest, beyond the let's go to a diner, because I love diner food, and that is a sometimes thing. And
I do
we
too.
Used to have, I love IHOP. Of the two like big chains here, Denny's or IHOP, I love IHOP. But the closest IHOP
is great.
Was a victim of COVID, unfortunately, so they've been shut down, sadly. But going to Romania, my grandparents. So the way that they structured their meals. And they ate a lot for like old people. So their main meal, the morning meal of the day, you have cheese, meats, raw veggies, tomatoes, cucumbers. They would mix yogurt with fresh cheese and feta. They would have their coffee because that's when they would have their coffee in the morning because they can't have that much caffeine. So they'll have their really strong black coffee. And yeah, and it was a lot of food. Like you might said, oh, a little bit of this, a little bit. No, this was a lot of food.
They meant
So
business.
yeah, and then for lunch you'd have your main meal of the day. So that would be your soup, then your meat and vegetables, maybe some salad, and then dessert, and then tea. And in the evening, you might have, if there's any food left over from lunch, you might have a little bit of soup, you might have some cheese, you might have whatever, but it's not a real meal. It's not like a sit down thing. So for me, going to my grandparents was always like, yeah, that's when you have actually sit down and have breakfast with them because they're eating breakfast and it's already spread out. So that's for me was the big breakfast. It's a lot. Oh, and it's so good. And the quality of food is different. So that helps. So to me, it's like a big breakfast. That's your vacation time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No half measures. I will tell you that the mental sharpness is definitely real. The ease of shopping is fantastic. Not having to have a diet plan is great. I actually find it to be incredibly simple. The only thing is just getting used to it is a little bit difficult. At this point, when 6 o'clock rolls around, I'm not even that hungry most of the time. And it's really important to have a good relationship with food that you make that meal kind of special. So if it's got to be something worth eating.
The odd thing with me on this was Brenda got me into this. When I met her, she said she just ate one meal a day, and she didn't have any particularly affinity for it. It was just something that she had gotten into. I got into it simply by chance, and I found out that I liked the way everything worked better. So I just stayed with it.
So easy.
It is so easy. All those things that you were talking about to adjust the amount of food that you're eating. It's fairly easy to lose weight. You have just not that many variables, not that many things to control.
Yeah. If my doctor told me to go see a dietitian, I'd say, why don't you get bent? Because I'm not. I don't need a dietitian. I don't need to eat breakfast. I don't need a dietitian. If you want me to eat more of something, that's fine. I'll throw it on top of the salad. I don't care.
Yeah.
But, like when I have salad, I use ridiculously expensive balsamic vinegar. I actually care about the quality of all of it. And I'm spending so much less money on food. I'm spending less money. I'm throwing almost nothing away. It's just pretty fantastic. I think the Romans were absolutely right about this. Anyway, sorry, that got way more preachy than I wanted it to. My apologies.
It was not preachy. It was fine.
Yeah, I honestly think whatever works for somebody when it comes to like their food, it's like, you want to eat 5 meals a day and they're all tiny and that works for you, fine.
That's what my French teacher in high school used to do. She would snack. So she'll have an apple here, a tiny yogurt there, and that would literally be her meal and all this. And then that's how she kept herself svelte and whatever.
Svelte and whatever, exactly.
Yeah, I think she's an immortal. I've seen her around. And now this
was she actually French or just a French teacher?
She's Belgian.
Okay.
Specifically, but taught French and here. And I have seen her recently, and she doesn't look any different than she did. And she was already a grandmother when she was teaching us. But I'm just telling, she's that kind of European lady, right?
She's an older Belgian lady who's not fat. She must be the only one in the world because that's like a Belgian thing for when
no, she is like, she is pencil. But like not in an unhealthy way. Like if you look at her, she doesn't look unhealthy. Like she shouldn't be that skinny. She looks like she's maintained herself basically. And I don't remember what her husband is. Her husband's from here, but his background is, I don't know, something. probably white mutt, as they say, like the mix of all the islands kind of thing.
Mhm.
But I see her from time to time, and she has not changed. She doesn't really look aged. I'm telling you, she's immortal. If there ever is an immortal person, it was my high school French teacher, and it's terrifying because that's not who I would pick.
I had a teacher that looked like Yoda, and she would also teach Latin to students who chose to learn it during lunch, and people would jokingly say it's because it was her original language when she was born. She
was not a dead language.
Yeah, she's ESL,
Language
not LSL.
Language was still healthy and had a long life ahead, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Using that V on the typewriter a lot. Anyway, so let's see. We've talked about this a little bit before, Sora, but I'm going to bring this back up again because I guess this is a big trend on TikTok, and don't all turn away just because of that. Let's see, where are we?
Are we circling back around? Are we?
We're doing things in a very weird order right now. Hold on here. Man with Down syndrome fired. Yeah, we got that. Okay. Quiet quitting.
Oh yeah.
The workplace trend. Shut up. Workplace trend taking over TikTok. So there's a whole bunch of people that are doing the quiet quitting. Essentially, their way of looking at it is they're not quitting. They're just only working the hours they're paid to work. And as a person who has spent most of his life getting into a position where that's the only way I get paid, because I'm an evil consultant, I'm not really in a position to throw stones. Because a lot of the arguments they're making, like, well, why should I work 50 hours a week instead of 40 so I can get a 5% raise instead of a 3% raise on my performance review? They're not wrong. That's the same thing with me. Why don't I just do a little extra work for another customer? I'm not going to go chasing 2% on a performance review. That's just insane. So I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. I mean, I'm sympathetic to this, but I think at the same time, going into a global economic downturn, that maybe being the lowest performer might not be the best thing to advocate.
So I think this only works if you're not the newbie.
If you're not on probation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're not trying to make
if you're in a position where you have performed and whatever you can demonstrably prove, hey, I've gone above and beyond, I've done all this, I've improved whatever, and you've asked repeatedly for promotions or something, and they've said, oh, not this year or whatever, right? So you're starting to say you have a legitimate reason for starting to resent the place, but because of the right now it's difficult to find an equivalent job somewhere else. Fine, do this. You're still doing your job, you're getting paid, but since you've attempted to get a better raise, they have shown their disrespect or whatever, however you want to say it, fine. You're not wrong, right? You're doing what you're supposed to do, what you're being paid for, and that's it. But my worry with this is more so they're not targeting those people necessarily. They're talking to young people entering the corporate workforce, and they're basically saying, hey, you're just a number to these people, you're replaceable. And while in some places that might be true, it's not fair or safe to tell people this, because okay, fine, you're quiet quitting and they're gonna fire you for what? They're like, okay, well, since you're doing the minimum of this and everybody else is pulling the slack, obviously we don't have enough work for you, so we're just gonna lay you off or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this can be, people
It's
probably are more excited about it because I'm sticking it to the man, but it's actually gonna turn around and bite them.
Yeah. So if you look at somebody's career, the first 10 years of it really matter in terms of trajectory. So if you spend 2 years in the Peace Corps instead of going into the workforce, or you spend an extra 2 years in college and start late, that late start,
spend
whatever
5
it
years
is,
in the Navy,
can throw you off so far in terms of like getting you on the right salary track to be able to afford a house and all these other things. That's why a lot of these really distressing articles about, hey, millennials, you're never going to own a house and your life's going to be miserable. Though I've not covered a lot of those articles, but if you look at the gist of it,
I appreciate it.
Well, I think a lot of it's BS, right? Okay, but at the same time,
But
I can
also
tell
true.
you if you want to get ahead in life, one of the most important things you can do is switch jobs. If you're at an employer and you're not making serious forward momentum in whatever your plan is, and you want to get ahead,
absolutely right.
You have to switch jobs. You have to go somewhere else.
That's
Switching
so
jobs will get you a much bigger pay adjustment, which basically builds your base
Then
salary
you'll
for your
ever
history.
get where you are.
Than you will ever get where you are.
That's
almost
a universal
impossible.
Law. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, so if you look at people who are highly placed for their age and well compensated for their age, they've usually switched jobs several times. And they've basically bootstrapped each time. And it's a lot easier to get that new job if you're not quiet quitting. Because you want to be able to sell whatever you're doing with your current employer, you're doing not for them, but you're doing it so you can sell yourself to the people that are going to hire you next. Rinse, lather, and repeat.
So Assassin says, tell me where these jobs are. Everywhere I see people are hiring. My question is, where are the people who are complaining there's no jobs? Because everywhere they're hiring.
Depends on what your profession is and where you live. There's a lot. I mean, it's not a universal thing. There's always places in industries where it's slower.
You might have to move to the job sometimes, unfortunately.
Sometimes, yeah. It's complicated.
But see, saying that, at least here, I don't know if the term exists, but I do know here it's what you're cautioned against is not being a gypsy, meaning if you have a resume that every 6 months you're in a different place, you're going to start blacklisted.
No, every 2 to 3 years, not every 6 months.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Make
but
sure
that's
you're
what
there
people
at
aren't.
least 2 years, absolutely.
What people aren't really clarifying, I think, because if you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally. To me, if I look at somebody, and like we had a temporary absolute useless at work, as we were looking through resumes to hire, most of the
she
people
was differently useful.
It was more of a lesson for us than for her, but anyway, I've never met someone who was actually stupid before. It was an eye-opening experience. I never want to experience it ever again. It was horrifying.
The fact that she was American just makes it that much worse.
No, this is not even American Girl. This is after my Florida. It's after Florida Girl. Florida Girl was a genius. She was wonderful compared. And actually, I'm being mean now. She was actually a hard worker. She was just had her moments. But this other one, we had a temporary one for 3 months on probation, of which she did not pass. That was just appalling and scary. It really was.
Yeah, no
like,
kidding.
Holy shit. But going through before we even got to that point was a lot of other candidates, right? And that was the problem. Every 6 months, every 8 months, or 3 months here, 2 months there. And I'm like, and that's fine if you're working under a temp agency, because technically you've been employed by one employer this whole time and you're just in different medical offices or whatever. But to by yourself be going between all of these places, makes me think that you're jumping from probation to probation and not passing at any point. And then when you ask them, oh, why did you leave your this particular place? Oh, it was the answer is it's contract. And I'm like, if we ask that, is that what the answer they're going to give us?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Because unless you put down on the resume that it was contracted work for 6 months only, temporary or whatever, and you look less and less like a qualified employee is what I'm saying, if you have all those jumps.
If you keep getting fired from place to place, which is basically what's happening.
Yeah,
probably.
I'm just saying, don't don't get taken advantage of. You know, I totally agree with the quiet quitting part of it, not letting, sort of knowing your own worth, not being afraid to sort of say, yeah, I'm worth more than this.
That sword has an underside.
But you're not going to get way ahead in life, because the person who chooses, like I said, to build up their CV, you know, be able to list accomplishments they had at work, the hard work you do is not for your current employer. It's to impress your next employer. If you're a motivated person, that's how you get ahead. And like I said, Skep knows what I'm talking about. I learned a lot doing one season of doing taxes, and I've hired a lot of people and had to go through the HR thing and looked over this stuff. And you definitely make a lot more money if you switch jobs occasionally. The worst thing you can do is work at the same company, you know, get out of college, work at the same company for 30 years. If salary is what you're worried about, if you just want to make a lot of money, because the company will not. Yeah, you'll get the watch, and they will appreciate you.
Yeah, they'll love you. Everybody will hug you when you leave.
Yeah.
Yay.
Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to be preachy. I'm just trying to give people good advice, because this is the kind of stuff I wish somebody told me when I was 21.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't like causing trouble, and I don't like switching jobs. But sometimes you should just interview for a job just to stay in the habit of interviewing. Even if you're not planning on leaving, it's totally okay to take a long lunch every now and then to interview. Absolutely. Even for a job you have no intention of taking, because it's a skill. You need to keep it up. Anyway, so now I'm getting very preachy. Let me get everything back to... Let's get things on track. Oh, I was going to show you a couple things. So this is the Gallup. Is this just a TikTok thing? No, it actually seems to be fairly real. At least half of the U.S. workforce is quiet quitting. Doesn't bode well for GDP, honestly.
No.
The workplace and amid the pandemic got worse for younger workers. Managers are essential to combating quiet quitting. Yeah, you need managers who do more than just threaten. There's ways you motivate people, and I think that stuff like profit sharing is actually a really good tool in some cases.
Yes, it is.
You want workers to not view things as an us versus them situation. And I think a lot of these millennials, or not millennials, these Generation Z types have a unique perspective on work.
The man is evil. But the man is not evil. The man pays your salary. Shut up.
I'm going to show you a quick little snippet from Office Space, because this has been around for a while, and hopefully we won't get copy struck. We probably will. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hello, Peter. What's happening?
I love Gary Cole.
I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. So if you could be here around 9, that would be great.
Very cool. Okay. So awesome.
And I almost forgot.
Almost forgot.
I'm also going to need you to go ahead and come in on Sunday.
Too,
okay? We lost some people this week, and
lost some people.
We need to sort of play catch up.
It's such a beautiful piece of satire because it's so damn true.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine waking up and being that tool? You know, the manager.
I have known this tool.
We've all known this tool.
This tool exists in many parts of American business.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. You know, we should have a stream about tools we have known, tools we have worked for.
I do like that collar and the suspenders, but those glasses are really.
The tie is just awful.
That tie is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But those glasses, it's just like, oh man. Mike Judge is a smart dude. He understands. He really understands satire.
Absolutely.
So it's not like this is a new thing. We've all known about this. It's just that this is the first generation or the first time in history when everybody has kind of realized, no, actually, I don't have to put up with this crap. And I would never advocate against people advocating. I would never argue against people advocating for their own self-interest. Okay. I mean, everybody has every right to quiet quit if that's what they want to do. I'm just saying that if you want to be the one that gets ahead and has the slightly nicer house and the nicer car, it's probably not the best strategy.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, that went poorly. Let's see.
No, I enjoyed it.
Let's see. We've done that. We've done that. We've done animals. We've done hackers. Oh, yes. So there was this. God, this is annoying. And I like this person's
You guys,
channel,
this is Nicole Mann, and she's making history as the first Native American woman in space and also the first woman to command a Crew Dragon capsule. Her message, never discount yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't care about what's between this woman's legs. I don't care about what who her parents had sex with. I don't care about her background. And it's not that important, but the other thing is we're making an awfully big deal out of something that's kind of not a big deal. The Dragon capsule can be loaded full of cargo and arrive at the space station all by itself.
She
doesn't need a pilot.
The pilots have no duties. They're just named the pilot. They don't even have emergency procedures.
Yeah. I made a graphic. Here, this is how bad my my art skills are. I made a graphic. I took the SpaceX thing that said sending humans
really good,
and cargo
Barry.
into space, and I just crossed out and changed it to as. So sending humans as cargo into space. There, I fixed it. I made it more accurate. Yeah, sending humans as cargo into space. I've got nothing against the woman who's the commander of this mission, but
she's actually a hell of a human being. She's a Marine Corps A-18 pilot who was a test pilot, a Pax River. She's got the patches. She's got the hacks and patches to.
But yeah, just say her name. I don't care about her genitals.
She's awesome. The thing of it is that this business of now we've got the first lesbian of color, who's also an indigenous person. Whatever. Okay, don't care anymore. Because the interesting thing is that this has gone. Putting someone in space has gone from needing 3 engineers aboard who are all capable problem solvers or deeply quantitatively mathematically trained to putting Jeff Bezos into orbit, as in basically what amounts to a space elevator. We have automated this down to where it is basically a space elevator where you probably have about a 1/50 chance of dying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is, and those numbers are roughly, they're order of magnitude accurate.
Yeah, it's an issue. Do you remember in the movie The Right Stuff, where they, all the nice German people that we got from Project Paperclip were...
Absolutely.
It's a fictionalized account. But 149 seconds into this clip, I thought the salient details are here as we try to get copy struck once again.
All right.
On the capsule.
That is a spacecraft, sir.
They call it the Dragon capsule, by the way.
A capsule. Spacecraft.
Yeah. A hatch with explosive bolts on the spacecraft. There. And there will be pitch and yaw thrusters, which will enable the astronaut occupant...
The pilot. Astronaut, pilot.
Yeah, the astronaut...
Yeah.
Pilot.
Yeah.
To have
Scene totally never happened, by the way.
To have...
Of course.
Control...
But the point is that they did get a window, they did get a door with exploding bolts, and they did have the ability to actually pilot the thing.
Yeah,
I don't think
periscope on the first one.
If things went poorly on the Dragon capsule, I don't see this person grabbing the controls and fixing stuff. They're not going to do an EVA. I mean, if you look at, they're even wearing different spacesuits. They couldn't EVA in those if they wanted to.
No. Those spacesuits, if those are there just to preserve them, they turn into cargo basically. Those spacesuits can't flex their arms; they inflate. to double the atmosphere or some, some significant proportion of the air pressure on Earth, probably something on the order of 10 or 11, pounds per square inch.
Maybe the real problem here isn't that people are trying to build this woman up. It's that we're not giving our astronauts anything interesting enough to do that it's worth building them up.
Well, that's the truth of it. In fact, in point of fact, I think a lot of the jobs on the space station will start to go away because simply through automation. I mean, yeah, there are some physical things that can only be done in space, and like flinging satellites and certain weightlessness experiments. But I think this is a trend where the specific skills of the people are going to be more like a mission specialist and less like a pilot, and the piloting skills will be much more automated than they ever have been. I think the last person to land the space shuttle was probably one of the last people who will ever aerodynamically land something that came from space. That's a very unusual configuration.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
So, speaking of jobs going away, this is a thing that happened. So one of the big stations which I've talked about before, KGO, one of the 50,000 watt transmitters.
KGO is gone?
KGO, basically, it still exists, but they just sort of, in the middle of this one guy's show, just said, nope, you're done. We're shutting it all down, and there's a format change coming on Monday. Cumulus Broadcasting essentially bought one of the big radio stations in the country, and having a bunch of people around doing news and weather and flying helicopters to look at traffic and all that stuff is just, it's like making buggy whips.
Yeah.
There's just no market for something like this.
Everybody knows where the traffic is now.
Everybody knows where the traffic is. Not only do they know where the traffic is, your phone will actually tell you if there's a speed trap ahead.
Right. I've got Waze.
It's like, what do you need a guy in a helicopter flying around for when Waze will tell you what the crowdsourced data is on traffic speed traps?
That's so true.
And why would you listen to news talk radio when you could listen to, I don't know, this show or some other show or Monkey or anything? I mean, you have all the choices you want.
Think how bad drive time radio had become.
Well, there was
utterly boring and predictable.
Well, here's a thing that was actually the day after this happened, showed up on little Brett Cooper's channel, and it's her reacting to something, and this video is actually pretty spot on.
Can you feel it?
Me trying to give the radio a chance.
This is what we do. Tower 96.9. You're rocking with the best.
I'm telling you, I've been locked up at Willy Wonka's place 300 million times.
Holy, the one and only, man. Come on, man. Who else would it be?
I feel this.
We are Power 96.9.
Okay, it goes on for a while.
Wow.
That is actually pretty damn accurate.
Yep.
Yeah. I pay for Spotify now.
Yeah, you pay for Spotify. You want to listen to Opie and Anthony? You could listen to Opie and Anthony on Sirius, or you've got Spotify or whatever.
Well, here, so because Canada owns everything and nothing is free, there is no. I mean, what I mean is there's no competition, and everything is owned by like one media company, more or less. I really like, there's certain daytime people, like for your drive into work, that were fantastic, and they've got rid of all of them. They've been reshuffled around, put on different stations, or they've completely lost their job or whatever. In the last couple of years, they've been this huge thing, and certain TV stations are gone. They've laid off news anchors that were like staples for years, and everyone's like, what the hell? What's the point of watching this? I'm not interested. I listen for these particular personalities, there's no point, and they were so funny and they had good chemistry, and the new ones are okay, but it's not the same, you know?
Oh, I know. Oh,
especially
trust me, I know.
when they leave on such a sour note of how they've kind of
It's
screwed it up.
always
So
about money too.
yeah, oh yeah, and I'm sure the new ones were slightly cheaper, so
Yep.
they got the job, and for now, and so yeah, I now pay monthly for Spotify.
Well, I'm going to break my own rule and tell not just one, but not just two, but three personal anecdotes in this show. So I'll try to make it brief. Being a high-strung individual, which I am, kind of neurotic and high-strung, as a kid, little kid, I would get insomnia and I couldn't sleep. And so I'd be sitting there in the dark with the wheels spinning in my head and just miserable. And so what I did is I started listening to KGO. And so Art Finley would come on, or Ray Taliaferro, one of those guys from back in the day. And so I would listen to KGO pretty much every night. And this is the thing that helped me keep my sanity when there was no Spotify, there was none of this other stuff. When Loma Prieta hit, where did I get the information? The first thing I did once I kept somebody from blowing up the restaurant I was in, because he wanted to know if somebody had a lighter, because I had a mini mag light in my pocket, like I said, neurotic, high strung. Yeah. I got everybody out of the place, hero for 5 minutes. But we got everybody out, and I went to my car, and I turned on KGO. Smells like
gas. Anybody got a lighter?
Yeah, I turned on KGO to find out what was going on. KGO was the thing. This is where you went to get the information. This place was a giant. This place was incredibly important, and it's basically just done.
KGO was
the mechanics of it
when I lived there.
The mechanics of it just don't work anymore. Their ad revenues have got to be shit. Yeah. So companies like Cumulus move in, and what are you going to do? They can't afford to keep all these news staffs and helicopters and stuff. You just regurgitate easy listening or top 40 or whatever, and even that's going to eventually go away because it's not cheap to run a 50,000 watt transmitter.
Nope.
What
this stuff is just going.
Is those the traffic helicopters and all that sort of stuff that what they do is they share it with the news stations now. So or the TV stations. So it's the same meteorologist, the same traffic girl in the helicopter that you'll see on TV. It's the same ones who will talk on the radio for 30 seconds. And because they're all owned by the same ones, but they don't have their own, whereas before they may have had their own that was just particular to that station. That's gone for ages.
Yeah, I remember also as a kid would go up to the Gold Country for about a week. My dad would get a month off because he was in a union, AFL-CIO. So he'd get a month off, and we would go up to the Gold Country, and he would enjoy his hobby of gold mining. And I learned all kinds of stuff, and it was cool when I was a kid. So, I wasn't completely abnormal, but I did enjoy going up there, except that I'd still have that same nighttime insomnia. So I remember using this Sony radio. It was a good Sony radio to try to tune in just enough of KGO that I could hear it. And that 50,000 watts basically kept me connected even when I was way the hell up in Northern California, up in the Sierras. Kept me connected to home because I could still at night have this little pillow speaker and listen to KGO as I drifted off.
No.
So it's significant to me. I know it's probably not a big deal for most other people. Now I listen to completely other stuff. But it is kind of sad to see this grand old thing kind of get put out to pasture like this. Every now and then they would have to take the transmitters offline, and they would actually do a sign off. And it sounded like this. And this is how I knew my night was going to suck, because what was I going to listen to if this went off the air? It wasn't you could turn on the TV or YouTube or whatever, because everything just stopped. But this is what it sounded like when KGO shut down temporarily, and then I started to panic.
This is KGO San Francisco. KGO, owned and operated by the American Broadcasting Company, now leaves the air for routine transmitter maintenance. KGO operates at 810 on the AM dial with 50,000 watts of power. under full authority of the Federal Communications Commission in Washington, D.C. KGO studios and general offices are located in the ABC broadcast.
They do that, and then you get the national anthem, and then you were screwed. Because for about 6 hours, there would be nothing. So it's kind of a big deal. I mean, in terms of politics and stuff, I don't think people realize how important these stations were. Because this was the voice of the people. You know, you could call up, and it was one of the few places most people could yell at a politician. And they would host debates and stuff like that. So it was really important. But I just think it's one of those things that modern society is kind of left behind. I'll be surprised if what is it? The one up in Seattle, Skep, was it Kono?
Oh, Como, K-O-M-O.
Como? Yeah, Como's probably going to be gone, and KLAX is probably going to be gone.
Yeah, WBAP too.
Before too long, all of this stuff is going to be gone because it just doesn't make sense anymore. Yeah. Hey kids, let me interest you in radio. It's the new hip thing. It's like, no, it's not.
And that was just white hot when we were growing up.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, Rush Limbaugh. It was because of talk radio that Rush Limbaugh got established.
That's right. He was on a little no account station in Sacramento. Just but he came up completely through radio.
Yeah. Well, there was other stuff. I'm going to talk about another thing, sort of like a predecessor of the crazy guy, the one, the Make the Frogs Gay guy. What's his name? Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
In an upcoming episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about Mabe Russell and World Watch International and the World Conspiracy Report, and that'll be fun. I'm just not ready to do it yet.
Are you going to have anything in there about Joe Pine and some of those crazy people back then?
Maybe.
Yeah, great fun.
We'll see. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in talking with you about that.
So, I did find a bunch of old stuff. I was actually, I like showing old clips of things. Speaking of things that are obsolete, Sora, I want you to watch this because I think this will be enlightening. This is what the world used to be like.
Okay.
My folks make sure I get a good breakfast. You know, plenty of fiber and all that stuff. Also, they buy me nice school clothes. They got me a computer, a video camera, a compact disc player. But the problem is, hardly any of this stuff can really help me with my schoolwork.
There is something.
Okay.
Wait, what? What? Wait, what?
What I really need is the complete Encyclopedia Britannica hardcover edition, family edition.
Exactly. That's where
that's
we're going.
That's 50 books on the shelf.
You know what that is?
No, but I'm afraid you're going to tell me.
Yes, it's the new Encyclopedia Britannica.
Oh no, you're fucking kidding me!
Now you tell me. I've got a report for you tomorrow.
On what?
Oh my god, I was joking.
Take a look at this. From the first beeps of Sputnik to the triumph of the Apollo.
Your teachers will never know that you're regurgitating the Encyclopedia
I wouldn't have
Britannica.
to worry about getting to the library. It's right in my own home.
Day and night.
All right.
I can just stay here and look at black and white 8-bit porn. This is great.
I guess you're going to tell me how somebody could get us then.
Actually, I thought I might, yeah.
And I suppose you're going to throw one of those 800 numbers up on the screen. Am I right?
Annoying.
Might as well.
I mean, he's not really a kid.
And there it is.
To find out how you can own the Encyclopedia Britannica, just call this toll-free number and we'll send you this free booklet telling you everything you need to know about your key to the information age.
I'm typing it into my computer so I won't forget it.
Good.
I'm not even going to buy it through the computer.
Yeah, he's
just typing it.
His text-only CPM machine.
Yeah. Good times.
Okay, so
that is
the
screen I spent a lot of time in front of right there.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
Yeah, I found some fairly terrifying vintage Toronto TV. Functional's not here, so I can't really indulge too much in this.
I had a corollary to something that you were just talking about. Something else that's passing into the bit bucket of history.
Okay.
Is the computer printer.
Yeah.
Who prints anything anymore?
Car repair people. They still use them.
Okay, point of sale
That's
type
it.
stuff. Point of sale, but beyond that, who does most of the printing? Nobody really prints much. the people who deal with international people who still do business the old-fashioned way, they still do that. My wife's business still does, and they do some business with Africa and Europe and the Far East. They're dealing with, people in all different levels of business systems. They have state-of-the-art stuff, for America, but it's not as advanced as the stuff they deal with in Japan and Singapore, but it's much more advanced than what they have in, virtually any country in Africa except for South Africa. So, but anyway, they don't print anything when they do business with Singapore. They print lots of things when they do business with a company in Africa.
Well, the experience of reading something in print and reading something on a screen is actually different. Your brain processes it differently.
Yes.
So there are definitely people I know, especially older folks, who still print out everything before they read it. I am not one of these tree killers, but I've known plenty of people who are. It's definitely a phenomenon. I have one more thing here, but without ruining all the stuff I have planned for functional later. But I think you'll like this one, Sora. This is really more right up your alley.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing fun from outer space, she's landing in your town.
The most space-age girl around.
New Spectra and Spark.
Shiny pink skin.
God, this is
Lacy
annoying.
spacewear.
Oh my God.
Spectra, I'd love to fix your sparkling hair. Now we're ready for your welcome to Earth party.
Dolls sold separately.
Spark spinning all around. Wow. Spectra, the most space-age girl in town.
Spectra and Spark.
Why
Just
didn't
kill
they
me
keep
now.
this during the 90s? I would have been all over this. Mind you, my parents would have never bought it, but still.
Yeah, this is 1987.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. I would love this so much. This, I still to this day want to get Sky Dancer, a Sky Dancer doll.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's this doll that you put on this wind up. You click it into this wind up mechanism. You hold it out away from you. Otherwise, you take out an eye, and then you let her rip.
And then they battle.
Jumps up into the air, and her arms are wings, and she twirls, and you break all your windows. And they had a movie. I don't know if there was a animated TV show, but there was definitely a movie. And oh my God, one of my neighbors that I used to play at her house all the time, she was the go. And this is why my parents never bought me anything, because go to Christina's house. Christina got everything. She got all the Barbies, all the Polly Pockets, all the Playmobiles, all of these like random dolls like Sky Dancers and everything like that. So I don't need to buy you. Go to your friend's house. So I'd walk myself across the back alley, go to her home, and then we'd play these things. They were fantastic. You can like break all the windows in your house with that thing. It's fantastic.
I have to say that low budget Canadian TV has a special something that's even, I think, even better than some of the American stuff. I'll just give you one more little taste of a thing from a t-shirt shop in Toronto from 1985.
You've worn the t-shirt. Now, Toronto Tees sweatshirt.
Man, this is terrible. This is so bad.
I like the pervert with the camera.
Yeah, he looks creepy as hell. Let's drop some packing peanuts on these girls and see if they can keep smiling.
That's so much fun. Nothing more fun than packing peanuts. See?
Yeah, I have to say that the vintage Toronto stuff I found is actually pretty awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love your country.
Thank you.
At least the 1985 version of it.
It's like a
we used to have these little shorts that would play on like CBC and stuff. I think it's under the National Ontario or a National Manitoba something of art. I can't remember the broadcaster or the.
There's no art in Manitoba, is there?
They would illustrate a bunch of like folk songs and play them in between programming. So you have like the cat came back, the log driver's waltz, all sorts of like Black Flag, all of these absolutely fantastic like songs that every Canadian person knew. Like at any point, you're like, did you watch? You would know exactly if someone started humming it.
Tyler looks like he has a free candy suckers ready. You kind of like that.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Make that go away. Okay. So, did you want to say anything about was it National Cephalopod Day, or is it Happy?
Yay! Apparently, it is World Octopus Day,
Octopus
so everybody go hug your neighborhood octopus.
Yes.
Or your spineless politician.
They don't deserve hugs.
I agree. They deserve
Absolutely
sauteing.
My cute avatar today, his name is Casper, and apparently we called him the ghost octopus. He or she was found in 2016 in Hawaii.
Yeah, don't misgender the octopus, Sora.
I don't want to do that. Look how
Ghost-opus.
cute. Look how absolutely cute it is. It's very sweet.
Yeah, I think cows and octopi maybe leave those off limits, but pigs, they know what they did. They're delicious, and it's open season on them.
I love calamari, so again, you can the power of being human. You can hold two opposing thoughts in your head
Cognitive
at the same
dissonance
time.
for better cuisine. Yes.
Yep.
I see that because the problem with me is unless it's for health reasons, like actual health reasons, I cannot become vegan.
I love calamari.
Because it's so good. You have lots of things, but I understand about the animal welfare. That's why I'd rather spend more money and go local and small and do all of that. And
yeah, but they still have to die.
But they're still dying for sure. But then
Yeah.
that way, it's I eat less and it's slightly healthier and it's cheaper in the long run because I'm not buying that much and all that sort of stuff. And that's the extent I can do it.
Yeah. I can tell you that in California, which is a terrible state, I know, just getting that out of the way, standard disclaimer, we do like to cook things on oak because it's native. And there are a number of better seafood places where you can get grilled octopus cooked over oak. And,
I would like to try that.
Yeah, any kind of fish cooked over oak is usually pretty darn nice. Oak may not be the best thing for all barbecue, but for seafood, it's really good. And grilled octopus over oak is fantastic. Sorry, octopus.
That's funny to hear somebody suggest using oak chips. In Texas, we never would use oak chips down here.
No, I don't mean oak chips. I mean oak. And you guys do burn post oak sometimes.
Yeah, we'll burn live oak too.
But mesquite, all
mesquite
that sort of stuff is very common down there.
Yeah, mesquite is the national shrub of Texas.
Yeah,
and,
highly burnable.
It's highly burnable, and boy, is there a shitload of it.
Who knows? Maybe I'll have barbecue for dinner tomorrow because I can eat whatever I want. Anyway,
I would estimate that the portion of Texas, seriously, no kidding, that is covered by mesquite and nothing but mesquite is probably about, seriously, the size of Portugal.
Yeah.
It's a huge expanse of Texas that
you have a lot of mesquite.
It's it's everywhere. We will never run out.
Yeah, well, never is a long time. I mean, because those prisoners in
thermodynamics and all that stuff. Yeah,
those prisoners in their individual shacks separated by about a mile each are going to need a lot of mesquite to stay warm on those cold nights. So anyway, this has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday. Anything else from you, Skep?
Not from me. Proud and happy.
Sora?
Eat what you want. You're an adult.
Damn straight. Eat whatever the hell you want. And don't let anybody tell you what to do. Because You're an adult, damn it. Zoo's closed. Bye.
Good night, adult.
Bye. Good night.